Very good evening once again and a very warm welcome to RwandaTV News with me, Ethan Tashobia. This Tuesday, President Paul Kagame chaired a cabinet meeting at Village Ruguru to review the existing measures of COVID-19, among other issues on table. The last cabinet meeting was held about 15 days ago, and it allowed about 100% resumption of public transport, among other things. Moving on, new ambassadors from South Korea, Oman, and Vietnam have announced that they intend to boost relations between their respective countries and Rwanda for the benefit of people in the respective countries. They made the statement on Tuesday after presenting their credentials to President Paul Kagame. Serge Nore kicks off tonight's bulletin with this report.
First to present his credentials was Ambassador Chai Jin-weon of South Korea, a country that has extensive cooperation with Rwanda in education, agriculture, rural development, ICT, and development in general, with support channeled through the Korea International Cooperation Agency. Between 2012 and 2020, 9 South Korean companies invested $268 million.
During my tenure, I would like to strengthen our close partnership and make a contribution to Rwanda's sustainable development. I would like to focus on the promotion of development cooperation and economic cooperation and people-to-people exchange.
Next was Oman's ambassador to Rwanda, Saleh bin Sulaiman bin Ahmed Al-Hadi. The two countries established diplomatic ties 12 years ago, and trade between the two has been steadily increasing, with 2017 registering a jump from close to 900 million Rwandan francs to more than 2 billion Rwandan francs. 82% of Rwanda's petroleum needs are met by Oman. It in turn receives agricultural produce from Rwanda.
Oman very open to receive any foreign investment, as well as I've heard the wisdom words of His Excellency the President. Now he told me that the Rwanda also is very open for the foreign investment. We are doing the same. So really would like to see this two business environment community getting in touch together and doing a good business work. We have a lot of opportunities since we are laying in the Indian Ocean. We have a very large ports and free zone areas. So at this moment, would like to extend my invitation to the Rwandan businessman to come and visit Oman and see the way how we can enhance and level up the cooperation between the two business side environment.
Vietnam's ambassador to Rwanda, Nguyen Nam Tien, also presented his credentials to President Paul Kagame and said he intends to further boost cooperation between the two countries, especially on the international scene. Vietnam's ambassador to Rwanda has residence in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Oman's ambassador will be based in Nairobi, Kenya, while South Korea's ambassador has residence here in Kigali.
Thank you, Serge, for that report. Moving on, Office of the Ombudsman has noted corruption in Rwanda has been on the decline because more people are willing to report the incident of its occurrence. The statement was made while the Chief Ombudsman was presenting his 2019-2020 report before the Parliament.
The report included measures meant to fight corruption, and the Chief Ombudsman noted that they have been paying off. Our findings are showing us that corruption is on the decline and that those actively fighting it like us are now many, be it the concerned authorities, leaders and local residents. More and more people are committing to fighting it. What we have found is that more people are willing to step forward and testify about corruption, even in court. Fighting corruption is not possible if people are not willing to testify.
abo abonye barya ruswa ahantu hose.
Some of the issues presented to the parliamentarians by Anastas Mriches included company vehicles rented but not paid or paid late, as well as officials that have failed to explain how they acquired their wealth. In turn, the parliamentarians presented some of the issues they believe need addressing, as well as how they should be addressed, such as extending the reach of the Office of the Ombudsman down to the sector level as a way of increasing efficiency at the local level, and the matter of the late payment of contractors by the government. Another matter focused on was land-related problems, and it was observed that they account for as much as 32.4% of all issues cited in the Ombudsman report. The Chief Ombudsman made key observations about how such issues are being addressed. Up to 50% of all issues raised are resolved right there in the local committees when we go to visit them. And as for the ones that are not resolved right away, we do follow up on them. The most important are discussed with other concerned authorities as well. Now, as for employees, it does not matter if they work for private companies or the government. They must be paid because it is their right. The report also showed that 9.9% of dossiers of requests for retrials have been found to include instances of injustice, with 25.8% of all complaints received at the office related to land disputes, 18% about unsatisfactory conclusions to matters, and 5% to do with the categories. Up to 3,360 dossiers were received by the Office of the Ombudsman in total. 640 were letters sent in, 296 issued through cyber cafes, 2,033 from trips to 7 districts made by personnel of the office, and 391 pertaining to requests for retrials. 207 dossiers concerning land, or 32.4% of all dossiers received, were noted, with 145 or 70.5% resolved. 24.15%, that is 50 dossiers, are still being looked into, and 12 dossiers, or 5.8%, are pending. There are 141 dossiers on court rulings that are yet to be implemented. That's 22.03%. In general, 99 dossiers, or 70.21% of cases, have been resolved. 34, that is 21.11%, are still being worked on. And as for pending ones, 8 cases, or 5.67%, remain. From the financial sector, 71 dossiers, or 11.09%, with 42 dossiers, that is 59.15%, having been resolved. 23 cases, or 23.34%, are still being worked on, and 6 cases, or 8.5%, are pending.
Now, let me bring you up to speed with the latest figures from the Ministry of Health regarding COVID-19 status in this country. One person succumbed to coronavirus. This person is an 88-year-old woman who passed away in Kigali. Condolences to her family. In other related matters, the country registered 11 new cases out of 1,594 sample tests taken in the last 24 hours, while 3 people recovered. The recovery rate currently is at 95%. Death rate is at 0.7%. Test positivity rate is at 0.7%. Active cases now 1,196. Kigali registered 8 new cases. Kirehe registered 1. Musanze 1. Nyamagabe 1. In other news, after an appeal by traders about the burden of high costs incurred while transporting cargo, Rwanda Revenue Authority says it is going to set up technology that will resolve this issue. Gloria Mutesi reports.
On the Rusumo border, a place known as Chiyanzi, on the Gajitumba border in Nyagatare district, at the Chanika border in Burera district, trucks carrying goods going to various destinations are seen. 3 borders were selected to offload goods coming from other countries. Perishable goods are not offloaded at these borders. Drivers carrying these goods are escorted to the factories, but with an extra charge of 35,000 Rwanda francs per truck. This is in a bid to prevent the spread of the coronavirus that was prevalent among cross-border truck drivers. Investors operating in Rwanda say that paying this 35,000 per truck is a burden and continues to affect their businesses.
Ni ibibazo navuga ko byavutse muri iyi minsi ya COVID-19.
It's a big problem indeed that arose from COVID-19, where each truck that brings us goods from Tanzania was required to pay a certain amount. It's a lot of money because we have many trucks. We have about 20 to 50 cars crossing daily, and we pay 35,000 per car, which is a lot of money per month. Throughout the entire processing, it costs a lot of money, which makes the prices go higher and have an effect to the end buyer.
Basically, we have remission on some items because we are manufacturers. We send in our list of few items where we need support from the government to give us the exemption on the chemicals and some materials, so that we can import those items, manufacture here, and be able to compete with imported products. And for sure, it has been 5-6 years now. We are receiving all the support from RRA and from the government of Rwanda.
These are some of the issues they raised with the management of the Rwanda Revenue Authority during a visit to understand their concerns, as well as thank them for being among the big contributors of tax. Commissioner General for Rwanda Revenue Authority, Bizimana Pascal Ruganintwari, says that the issue of paying for these services of escorting cross-border truck drivers across is being discussed with other agencies so that the trucks can enter customs clearance and use technology to control them so that the fee will be taken away.
Navuga ikiguzi gituma iyo service.
This cost was put there for especially escorting them up to when they offload their goods and go back. And this required that police cars escort them to help them fulfill their responsibilities. This problem might be resolved because we have a GPS tracking device we put in the car and we track it without leaving us where we are. So this fee that was put to escort them will be removed. We have a committee of people following this up, and I'll ask that this week it be worked on quickly, or the other coming week, and I assure you that this will be resolved. About the issue of investors declaring taxes to the staff of the Rwanda Revenue Authority, the Commissioner General says that this won't be an issue anymore, as they've rectified their systems to more efficient use.
For that report. Now, the Dutch Police International Crimes Team has arrested a 71-year-old Joseph Mugenzi, suspected of his involvement in the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi here in Rwanda. The spokesperson of the National Public Prosecution Authority, Faustin Nkusi, confirmed this and explained where the prosecution in Rwanda stands when it comes to his and where his trial should be held.
First of all, let me say that we have welcomed the decision for the arrest of Joseph Mugenzi, who was arrested by the judicial authorities of the Kingdom of Netherlands. This was based on the extradition request that was issued in 2015 by the National Public Prosecution Authority of Rwanda, but also based on the arrest warrant of 3rd January 2013. So it is a good and a positive decision that was taken by the Netherlands, and we really appreciate the good judicial cooperation that exists between the two countries.
Considering it has taken over 25 years, how was he arrested?
Okay, he was arrested, as I mentioned above, based on the two documents that I mentioned, the arrest warrant and the extradition request that was issued in 2015, but also based on the charges that were alleged to have committed by Joseph Mugenzi, which are a genocide, a murder, and extermination as crimes against humanity, conspiracy to commit genocide, complicity to commit genocide, and also other activities that he committed in Nyamirambo and Nyakabanda in Kigali City, particularly by working with the security organs and the local leaders in the planning, preparation, and execution of the killing of the Tutsi. So the arrest was based on all these that I have just mentioned, but also based on the good and the positive judicial cooperation that exists between the two countries.
Maybe could you tell us more about his history for those that could not know much about him? What kind of person he was, who he was in general?
Joseph Mugenzi was a Rwandan who was living in Nyakabanda in Nyamirambo commune in Kigali City, and he was working with the National Bank of Rwanda, BNR, as a staff of that bank, but also working privately. He owned a pharmacy in Nyamirambo by name of Umuravumba. So briefly, he was working for that bank, but also working privately, owning that pharmacy.
And as the prosecution in Rwanda, where do you stand in terms of where you would want him to be tried from?
Our stand is very clear that we want him to be tried in Rwanda, because our request also requested the Netherlands, the judicial authorities of Netherlands to extradite him to Rwanda. And we really hope that this will be done, because this won't be the first time for the Kingdom of Netherlands to extradite or deport fugitives to Rwanda, because in 2015, Munyaneza Jean Dodier was deported by the same judicial authorities to come and serve his sentence in Rwanda. But also in 2016, Mugimba Jean Baptiste and Yamle Jean Claude were also extradited to come and be tried with our judicial authorities. So they are currently the trial is going on in judicial authorities in the courts of Rwanda, and I can even mention that for Mugimba Jean Baptiste, it was listened to closely for the trial chamber, but Munyaneza is going on. So we also hope that for Mugenzi Joseph, it will be done in the same way, that he will be brought to the country and be tried by courts that our courts in Rwanda.
Mr. Nkusi Faustin, thank you so much for speaking to us this evening about this development.
Thank you very much.
Our colleague Gloria Mutesi is speaking to the National Public Prosecution Authority spokesperson Faustin Nkusi about the arrest of Joseph Mugenzi in the Netherlands. Moving on, the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has donated medical equipment worth 1 billion Rwandan francs to Rwandan government. The Ministry of Health says these equipments are predominantly in the care of premature babies, and they will help in reducing the number of infant mortality. Gloria Mutesi has the details.
Muhima Hospital is one of the hospitals that treats children with various ailments, including premature births, respiratory and other issues. Dr. Akaitesi Diane Patrice has been working in pediatrics at Muhima Hospital for 5 years. She says that even though the equipment used to care for these children is not enough, they are doing their best with what they have. We receive about 120 and 130 children per month, including those born prematurely, as well as other issues such as infections. We only have 5 incubators, and yet we're supposed to have about 15. As part of the capacity building in the health sector in Rwanda, the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has provided the government of Rwanda with a range of equipment for maternity services, respiratory care, protective gear, and various COVID-19 prevention material. UNICEF country representative to Rwanda, Juliana Lindsay, says UNICEF is excited to be involved in supporting the health sector in Rwanda in various ways.
We're very pleased that this support, particularly some of the items for COVID, like the ventilator and the CPAP, will also contribute to a more sustainable and resilient health system. Secondly, I'm very pleased that the PPE is supporting the community health workers, because this is really the foundation of the health system in Rwanda. And finally, I'm very pleased that these items will support reducing child mortality, especially neonatal mortality, because this is the bulk. The majority of the children under 5 who die are actually the small babies. And so this will be a way for the government of Rwanda, RBC, the health professionals, to make sure that they can provide the most sophisticated support possible to little babies when they're born early, etc.
COVID-19 patients that are not critically ill in Rwanda are being treated at home and are followed up by health counselors. The Minister of Health, Dr. Daniel Ngamije, says that these will help with the health counselors protecting themselves against the pandemic. You know that people who don't show severe signs of COVID-19 are treated at home, so this equipment will come to the aid of the health counselors who care for these patients daily because they will be protected. We still have a gap when it comes to equipment that reduce mortality and premature deaths, and we are still seeing a significant number of deaths there. So we want this to reduce as we look for appropriate equipment and train doctors to take care of these premature babies. All equipment donated worth $1 million will be delivered to hospitals and health centers and health counselors, according to the Minister of Health.
On behalf of the entire news team, of course, led by News Director Janvier Mrenzi, and of course my cameraman Buddha Twahirwamene, thanks for joining us here on RwandaTV News tonight. Stay well and stay safe. I'm Ethan Tashobia. Bye for now.